Dear friends, thank you for being here. I have I just completed a Facebook Live in Tamil some time ago, and on the request of friends, there is a Facebook Live now going in Tamil as well, in English as well. Before we proceed into the message that I wanted to convey to you, I want to assure all of you that this is being done in a spirit of transparency. While we are transparent in communicating with all of you, this also means that we will cooperate with the CBI in its investigations and provide to them the precious documents that we have maintained for the past so many years intact, because financial management for any group which is involved in human rights is our dignity, and we will not allow our dignity to be lost at any cost. So it is in that spirit of transparency that this is being spoken of. On the 8th, we had the CBI visiting our office. They had a search warrant dated the 7th of January, which was based on an FIR registered on the 6th of January at 6:45 p.m. by the CBI in Chennai. The officers who came were extremely polite, and we offered them the maximum cooperation we could. We have, in the same matters, faced the officials from the Ministry of Home Affairs of the Government of India in the years 2012 and 2013 on 3 different occasions, each for 5 days. Therefore, we believed in what we did, and we will continue to provide them the same support. But what is intriguing to us is why this FIR against the trustees of the Center for Promotion of Social Concerns, against the executive director unnamed, and against unknown persons under sections of conspiracy and cheating of the Indian Penal Code. What have we conspired against? The only conspiracy that we could have been engaged in and have been engaged in is to ensure that our Constitution is protected, to ensure that the rights in the Constitution are shared widely, are made a reality for people in different forms, through education, through monitoring, through intervention, through networking, through rehabilitation, through using legal aid, and through using very many instrumentalities of the state. And therefore, that is what is very intriguing. This looks like a vilification, because the FIR comes 10 years later from the period which the FIR is set to cover. Now, what is the background to this? The background is simple. CPSC is a trust that was formed in the year 1982. CPSC as a trust initiated a program unit called People's Watch, and therefore People's Watch is a program unit. It's a name of a program. It is not a registered body. It is not a legal body. It does not hold a bank account. This has been the major problem for people to understand. Now, in addition to this, in 2000, so we have been functioning as under the legal body CPSC. People's Watch is a program unit. We also have a program unit called the Institute of Human Rights Education. Interestingly, when the officials of the Ministry of Home Affairs came to us in the year 2012, they were asking me where the building is, because this is an institute. For them, an institute did not mean reaching out to people. It meant buildings which could be called an institute. Unfortunately, that was what they believed. In 2012, in the month of May, we had a visit from the Ministry of Home Affairs, a team. Properly notice was provided to us. We knew what they were coming in for. We had our account from 2000 onwards ready. We had our our resolutions of the CPSC Trust from 1982 onwards. They were quite shocked that we were so well prepared. Well, human rights defenders do good documentation and therefore maintain good documentation. This is what we as a community not only believe but also practice. And immediately after that, in July, we received our first FCRA suspension of 180 days. In those days of the 2010 Act, there was only one suspension that was possible. Today, after the 2020 Act, there are two successive suspensions that have been made possible. But in the case of CPSC, we had the first suspension in July 2012, followed by a second suspension in February 2013, followed by yet another third suspension in August 2013. CPSC must be the only organization across the country which has received 3 successive suspensions, 2 of which are contrary to law. Most interestingly, on the 179th day of the first suspension, 179th day, we received 21 observations of the team which had visited the offices of CPSC People's Watch in May 2012. And therefore, we were given the second suspension period to answer to those 21 observations, which we of course did. Once the third suspension came, we said enough is enough. We went to court. I do think we went to court a little late. And we chose to go to the Delhi High Court. And before the Delhi High Court, we had our lawyer, Mr. Sanjay Parekh, who was fighting the case for us. And I'm pleased to tell you that in May 2014, and these orders are all on the public domain, I will provide it to you, we were allowed to open our accounts and function, and the Ministry of Home Affairs had no objection. So as of 2014, May, the case was over in our favor. The bank accounts which were closed were open, and we were allowed to receive and utilize, solicit, receive and utilize resources as contained in Article 13 of the UN Declaration on Human Rights Defenders. And we did so. In 2015 we functioned, 2016 we functioned, and it was only in 2016 that on the 29th of October 2016, when we went for our renewal, we were told through a 2-line crypt order that on the basis of field reports, our FCRA could not be renewed. We challenged them. We challenged them in the Delhi High Court once again. We recalled the earlier litigation, the orders passed in our favor. And interestingly, the Ministry of Home Affairs was so caught up with this syndrome of suspension and show cause notices to be issued to the Center for Promotion of Social Concerns, People's Watch, that in December 2016 they issued another suspension order. I said, suspending what? Suspending an FCRA which doesn't exist. Suspending a renewal certificate which was never granted. And hurriedly, in the month of March 2017, they withdrew the suspension order and the show cause notice. Of course, we had gone to court, and in court they came and withdrew and said to inform the court that they had withdrawn. The 2016 case, however, continued and continues till date. We did not want to argue the matter virtually. We were posted on the 24th of January for a physical hearing. Unfortunately, this physical hearing will not take place due to the present situation that we are all in. Now, therefore, the present FIR of the CBI is categoric that it addresses the period between 2010 and 2012, and the allegations against us are that we have made so much withdrawal, that we have done FC to FC transfer. The general public need to know that funds from one FC account can legally be transferred to another FC account. And I will explain to you what it means. We were doing human rights education in schools. I'll give you an example. People's Watch was implementing, the Institute of Human Rights Education was implementing the program under the aegis of CPSC, and we were having partners, ADRI, in the state of Bengal. Now, Adri was our legal partner. Agri was an FCRA holder, and Agri was doing the experiment of teaching human rights education in schools in Bihar. And the funds meant for the state of Bihar, though received from the donor by CPSC, was immediately transferred from here to Adri because they had income tax exemption and they had a FCRA account. This was legal under the 76 Act, legal under the 2010 amendment, and it has now been changed in the 2020 amendment to the FCRA. So transferring accounts was never a problem. Now, when you utilize foreign funds, you have to be accountable to foreign funds. And those being accountable also means that if you withdraw a certain amount for a program, say 20,000 for a program, and there is a balance of 1,500 or 2,000, it is your duty to put that money back into the bank account, but not put it in your pocket or not account for it. That is exactly what we have done. So they are talking about putting money back into the bank account is FC money being put into FC account. It doesn't mean local money being put into FC account or FC account, foreign contribution account being put into the local contribution account. So these are technicalities. On the side of technicalities, we have been right. And because we were right, before the Delhi High Court, the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is monitoring this matter, categorically allowed us to carry on our work. And since we were more interested in the work and not getting a verdict, and the court observed that, we continued our work and there were no blemishes on our side. Had we been involved in a conspiracy, the Ministry of Home Affairs would not have allowed us to continue our work. Had we been engaged in cheating, the Ministry of Home Affairs would not have allowed us to continue our work. Had we been doing anything illegal, contrary to the Foreign Contribution Regulations Act, then the Ministry of Home Affairs would not have allowed us to continue to do that. So it is that we wanted to bring to your notice today, that what is being given to the CBI to be investigated, let me put it the way it actually has happened, on the 6th of January, is something which is almost 10 years old. It is 10 years old. When they came in, I told the DSP with a smile, I said, we expected you 10 years earlier, you are coming 10 years later. Now friends, we believe in transparency. And the fact that we believe in transparency has to be proved by our actions. And let me tell you that even before the 2010 Act was amended, the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, CPSC had the customary practice of what we called the Committee of Concerned Citizens. And the Committee of Concerned Citizens are not NGOs. Committee of Concerned Citizens are people who run institutions, people who are in governance, people who are in politics, people who are elected representatives, 70 of them, who do not belong to our board, who do not belong to our program committee, who come to spend 3 hours with People's Watch because they support People's Watch. They listen to our programs for a short while, but for the most long period, they look at our accounts, which are audited and which have been submitted to the government. They look at salaries, they look at tax paid, they look at gratuity paid, they look at PF paid, they look at all sorts of things which are actual figures, and they have to leave the meeting only after they physically peruse our accounts. If there is an NGO which opens its accounts, and I am inspired, and I'm humbled to say this, I'm inspired by Aruna Roy and her team from Rajasthan, who were the source of inspiration for us opening our accounts to the public. We said if right to information movement led by people as noble as Aruna could ask the authorities to open accounts, I think we have a duty to also open our audited accounts to members of the public. Of course, it was not anybody who could come. These were very respectable people. And I'm happy to tell you that one of our CCC members has also been a former Home Secretary. One of our CCC members in Chennai, we used to take our books of accounts to Chennai and open it there. There have been IPS officers, former IPS officers, former IAS officers, former Home Secretary of the Government of India, former Secretary General of the NHRC, people and people in accounts and different walks of life who gave us suggestions. And those suggestions were also adhered to. And in the next meeting, that report, action taken report, was presented. This is transparency in accounts. If we had anything to hide, if we had anything to cheat, if we had anything to conspire, this is not what we have done, number one. Number two, in the year 2012, please have a paper and a pencil in your hand, we opened a blog spot. The blog spot is CPSC, I repeat, CPSC -FCRA .blogspot.com. I repeat, CPSC -FCRA .blogspot.com. You go there and you will see all our papers received from the government, given to the government in relation to our FCRA. If this is not transparency, what is transparency? The RTI Act doesn't apply to us, but the spirit of RTI is living within us because we have been watching this. We have learned this from the RTI movement of our citizens of our country from the state of Rajasthan, and we have put it into practice. And therefore, all our papers are on the scheme. The court orders are there, the ministry's orders are there, and therefore, if the CBI has registered an FIR on the 6th of January, this is coming 10 years later, but I am humbled to say that this is only a vilification campaign. I want to assure those who thought that an FIR by the CBI using IPC and FCRA, if you thought that it can stop us from speaking the truth, I'm sorry, we will continue to speak truth. And we will do it loudly, we will do it clearly, but we will do it with humility. Human rights activists are firm. Human rights activists are courageous. But human rights activists are also polite, civic, and humble. And with that humility at my command, we will continue to cooperate with the CBI. Only because we speak not for CPSC alone, not for People's Watch alone, not for HRDs alone, we speak for the sector. And if this representative of the sector presents herself or himself in an arrogant manner, that will reflect on the sector, civil society sector that we represent. In spite of all the odds against us, we know that these odds are against us, but we know that there are people and have been people and there are continuing people who are in worse circumstances than us. We at least have the freedom to communicate to you. The stands could not see you after they were arrested. Sudha is out on bail, but Sudha cannot communicate the way she would like to, or I would like to, with her. And there are all the others in the many cases, including the Bhimo Koregaon case, who are human rights defenders par excellence in this country, who are in much more difficult circumstances. We talk about those who are in prisons in Jharkhand, in Chhattisgarh, in Andhra, in Telangana, in Tamil Nadu. They are in much more difficult circumstances. Therefore, solidarity is what is called for. Courage, yes, but solidarity more. Nothing can cow down our actions. We will continue. We continued from 2012. We have continued working without being able to receive funds for 2,600 days. There have been people who are generously contributing, and I appeal to all of you who are going to have access to this video to not only say there is justice on our side, but for continued justice to continue to be taken ahead, we need resources. Provide us local resources on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis, to ensure that the power that we add to the justice movement, the human rights movement, locally, at the state level, at the national level, at the international level, will continue. We look for international support. We appeal to all UN special rapporteurs. We appeal to all experts that this is the time for you to stand up and say, what is happening in this country is wrong. It is Khurram Parvez's arrest is wrong under the UAPA, using the CBI for registering a case against CPSC, People's Watch, is equally wrong. But we are in a better situation, and therefore we will continue our work to support the Khurrams, to support the Bablus, to support the various people in the various prisons of our country till our last breath. That is the oath we have taken to human rights, but we will do it with dignity, we will do it with humility. Stand in solidarity with us. I'm pleased to tell you that we will upload a sequence of events that will make you understand what has happened. We will also upload on this Facebook different court orders so that all that will be available for you to read at ease and to be convinced that the voices of people like Henri are not corrupt voices. They are honest voices. They may be lone voices. Tista is not a loner. Indra is not a loner. Anand Grover is not a loner. We are not loners. We are all in solidarity with a variety of friends, lawyers, journalists, who all are upright in their own professions, but work with a lot of sacrifice at their command to make sure human rights is respected. We will continue to do that. The work that people say I am doing is not work that I am doing. The work that I am claiming to do is a work that is being done with the cooperation in the past of several hundreds of staff that we had across the country. But we will never give up. Don't worry, we will never give up. Your solidarity is what we want to be assured. The same voice with the same strength will gain stronger because of your solidarity. I stand here humble with all my staff because all of you will be with us. Thank you.